Good afternoon, everybody. This is Steve Fletcher with a Trumpet for My People. I want to share with you today about Alpha Star Atria. Alpha Star Atria that we are watching on January 1st, where this comet C 2020 X3 SOHO is going to be right here. Now, before I show you how we're going to be lining up here on January 1st, and I want to let everybody know that I've shared about this in my previous 3 or 4 videos. So I will leave all the links for you in the description box if you want to get up to speed to where we are today, to this sign that we're watching. But before we look at January 1st, I want to go back here on the clock and I want to show you how this comet came through the total solar eclipse on December 14th. Okay, let's go back to December 10th, which was the beginning of Hanukkah. Okay, I want you to watch this comet. This was Hanukkah. The comet itself was discovered on December 13th. So they were not even watching it, did not even know about it at this point at the beginning of Hanukkah. But at the beginning of Hanukkah, it was in the constellation of Scorpion. Okay. And then when they discovered it on December 13th, it was just making its entrance into its perihelion event at the sun. Okay, so if we go forward here, we're on the 10th, 11th, 12th. Okay, and now we see on the 12th, we see Mercury coming into view. Okay, on the 13th, we see the moon is coming in. And this is all going to make its culminating event right at the total solar eclipse of December 14th, where the sun, Mercury, the messenger planet, the moon, and comet 2020 X3 SOHO is all going to make a conjunction right here. And this comet is going to actually go through the total solar eclipse. It actually came on. The reason why it's named SOHO is because the SOHO laboratory that does the video footage and the filter images of the total solar eclipses, the SOHO laboratory, they're the ones that discovered this comet. And it was discovered as they were watching right around the sun, preparing for the total solar eclipse that was going to be happening on December 14th. So this was discovered right here on December 13th. And then when we hit December 14th, we see it's all in line here. We have the moon actually in the sun. This is the total solar eclipse. Here is this comet. Here is Mercury that's forming like the diamond ring on the diamond on the wedding ring. And then we've got this covenant stone that's just amazingly sealing the deal here with everything else that's going on here. We had this comet that came through. Now, if we go forward from December 14th, December 15th, 16th. Okay, now it's see how it made its perihelion event. It went up to the sun, came around the sun, and now it's going back, going through Scorpion again. 18th, 19th, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. Now this is where we are right now. This is today. This is exactly where this comet is in the altar. This is in the altar. And Ara is the name of this constellation, altar. And it's on the way to 30, 31, January 1st, 2021, right here, Atria. Okay. Now, I had shared with you about the fact that Atria is also known as Alpha, which is the beginning. Okay. I did not know, and it was brought to my attention that all constellations have an alpha star. Alpha refers to the brightest star in each constellation. Every constellation has an alpha star. Well, this is not only the alpha star of the Triangulum constellation, but it's called Atria. Atria. Now, I want to look into this word Atria because, I mean, consider the fact that this just came through the altar, okay? And now we have the Atria, and how is everything connected between the Atria and the altar? It came out of the sun, okay, which is a covenant moment on the December 14th, the total solar eclipse. It came through the altar, and now it's coming into the atrium. Okay, let's take a look at atria and how we can see the importance of atria and the connections here. Okay, atria. It doesn't sound like it's too big of a deal, but it is a very big deal. Let's take a look at it. Atria. Atrium in British English. This is the open main court of a Roman house. It's a central, often glass-roofed hall that extends through several stories in a building such as a shopping center or hotel, atrium, a court in front of an early Christian or medieval church, especially one flanked by colonnades. Now we're getting into something that's connecting us very importantly to the altar. It's a courtyard in front of a church or a temple. And we have, it's also known as the atria, or the atrium is also connected to a cavity or chamber in the body, especially the upper chamber of each half of the heart. So we have a organ in our body which is connected directly to our central uh, blood flow. The blood flow of our body, the heart of our body, is connected to an atrium or an atria. Okay. Now remember the comet coming through the fire, the altar. Now it's reaching the atrium, which is a courtyard. It's also part of the heart, which is the center location of life, okay, within the body. Now, if we look at atrium, we're going to see it's also called cavitium, the main or central room of an ancient Roman house, open to the sky at the center and usually having a pool for the collection of rainwater. It's a courtyard, flanked or surrounded by porticos in front of the earlier medieval Christian church. It's a skylit central court in a contemporary building or house. And as we shared, it's either of the two upper chambers on each side of the heart that receive blood from the veins and in turn force it into the ventricle. So it's the connected to the heart, which pumps the blood into the body. Now, what is another word for atrium? Let's look at synonyms for atrium. Okay, atria, atrium is chamber, concourse, entrance, foyer, hall, lobby, patio, porch, vestibule, cavity, court, passage, room, entrance hall, etc., etc., etc. Okay, all of these is a portal, it's a gateway, all of these, and I don't want to go through all of them, but I'll leave this link for you. I mean, look at all the connections to atrium as the entrance, but I want to focus on the word porch, okay? Because as we look at atria, okay, we have looked at this comet coming through the altar. Now we're at the entrance, we're at the atrium, we're at the patio, we're at the porch. The porch of Solomon, which is the entrance to the temple. The porch of Solomon, the atrium of Solomon, is the entrance to the Holy of Holies. And we see how the porch of Solomon, okay, is connected to the temple. It's an outer court area that leads to the court of the Gentiles. To get to the court of the Gentiles, you go through the porch of Solomon, you go into the court of the Gentiles. Okay? This is the porch of Solomon on both sides of the temple. If we look here at this, okay? So to get into the courtyard or the outer courts of the temple, you go through the porch of Solomon. So this is the entrance into the temple area. You have to go through the porch to get to the temple. Now, what were we watching on Hanukkah and how this all connects? December 14th, the total solar eclipse. What were we watching on December 14th? It was Jerusalem, the Feast of Dedication. It was winter. And Jesus walked in the temple in Solomon's porch. There is no coincidence here. And this is an important reason within the fact that the scriptures show us that Jesus was in the porch outside the temple on Hanukkah. And this sign that appeared on Hanukkah is bringing us to the porch. It's bringing us to the atrium. It's bringing us to the gateway, to the entrance. Okay? Isn't this amazing? Now, if you want to study more, you can go and look up the word porch. In the King James, there's 36 uses. And it shows how the porch of Solomon was built and used and all the details about it. And if we go to gotquestions.org, let's just read a little bit about what was Solomon's porch. Solomon's porch was the name of two porches associated with the temple in Jerusalem. The original temple constructed by King Solomon is described in 1 Kings. As for the house which King Solomon built for the Lord, its length was 60 cubits, and its width 20 cubits, and its height was 30 cubits. The porch in front of the nave of the house was 20 cubits in length, corresponding to the width of the house, and its depth along the front of the house was 10 cubits. The reconstructed temple, later modified by King Herod, and it included an area also known as Solomon's porch. Solomon's portico, or Solomon's colonnade, this structure was on the east side of the temple and was covered with a roof, thus providing more protection from the weather than the temple courtyards. Passing west through Solomon's porch toward the temple would place one in the court of the Gentiles. Okay, so this is what we were explaining here, is that you go through the porch to get into the courtyard, to get into the temple. Solomon's porch is the entrance. Okay, the Jewish historian Josephus described Solomon's porch this way. There was a porch without the temple, overlooking a deep valley, supported by walls of 400 cubits, made of 4 square stone, very white. The length of each stone was 20 cubits, and the breadth 6, the work of King Solomon, who first founded the whole temple. Goes on to say here, one winter, At the festival of dedication or Hanukkah, Jesus was in Jerusalem, and John described him as in the temple courts walking in Solomon's colonnade. Jesus was in Solomon's porch on the Feast of Dedication. The King James Version says Solomon's porch. In Acts 5:12, Solomon's porch was the gathering place for believers in Jerusalem before the diaspora, before the dispersion. This was the gathering place for believers, the porch of Solomon, the gathering place for believers, the gathering place for believers, the atrium, the Atria. Solomon's porch was the gathering place for believers in Jerusalem before the dispersion. Earlier in Acts 3:11, Peter and John had healed a lame man at Solomon's porch and preached to a large crowd that had gathered there. Solomon's porch, along with the rest of Herod's temple, was destroyed by the Romans in AD 70. Into the porch, into the entrance, the gateway to the temple, the atrium of the temple, the atria, the courtyard, the porch of the temple. January 1st, 2021, the place that the believers would gather before the dispersion, the porch of Solomon. I pray you guys are blessed. This is Steve Fletcher with the trumpet for my people, the sign of his coming revealed.